There is a certain kind of person who walks into a room and immediately changes the atmosphere. He doesn't need to raise his voice. He doesn't need to threaten anyone. He doesn't need to tell people how powerful he is. People simply notice him. They become more careful with their words. They pay attention. They wonder what he is thinking. And even when he is smiling, there is something about him that makes everyone around him slightly uncomfortable. Lalo is one of those people. In Better Call Saul, Lalo rarely demands respect directly. He doesn't constantly remind people of his position. He doesn't need to announce that he is dangerous. In fact, some of his most intimidating moments happen when he appears completely relaxed. He smiles, he jokes, he asks questions, he listens, and somehow that is exactly what makes him so terrifying. Because Lalo understands something most people never learn. Respect is not created by demanding it. It is created by the way you carry yourself when you don't desperately need anyone's approval. And if you struggle to earn respect, there is a lot you can learn from Lalo. Not his violence, not his criminal lifestyle, not his morality, but his psychology. Because underneath everything else, Lalo possesses several traits that make him extraordinarily difficult to ignore. The first is emotional control. Think about how most people behave when they want respect. They talk louder, they exaggerate their achievements, they try to dominate conversations, they become defensive when someone challenges them. They want everyone to know that they are intelligent, successful, strong, or important. And ironically, this can produce the opposite result. Because when you desperately try to convince people that you're powerful, you're communicating something beneath the surface. You need them to believe it. Lalo almost never has this problem. He behaves as though his importance is already established. Imagine two people entering a room. The first immediately starts talking about himself. He tells everyone what he has accomplished. He makes sure people know who he knows. He tries to dominate every conversation. When somebody disagrees with him, he becomes defensive. The second person sits down. He watches. He listens. He speaks when he has something worth saying. And when someone challenges him, he doesn't immediately become emotional. Which one feels more powerful? Usually the second, because confidence becomes convincing when it doesn't look like a performance. Lalo understands this instinctively. Even when circumstances become dangerous, there is usually a strange calmness in his behavior. That calmness creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates psychological power. When people cannot easily predict how you will react, they become more cautious around you. This is why emotional control is one of the most important lessons you can take from Lalo. Someone insults you. You don't immediately explode. Someone disagrees with you. You don't suddenly become defensive. Someone ignores you. You don't desperately chase their attention. Someone tries to provoke you. You don't give them the reaction they were hoping for. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means learning that your emotions don't have to control your behavior. There's a difference between feeling anger and acting from anger. There's a difference between feeling insecure and allowing insecurity to dictate your actions. And there's a difference between being hurt and showing everyone that they have the power to control you. Lalo understands that difference. But emotional control isn't his only advantage. He also knows how to listen. Most people don't really listen. They're simply waiting for their turn to speak. Someone tells them a story, and they're already preparing their response. Someone explains a problem, and they're already thinking about what they want to say next. But Lalo pays attention. He watches people's expressions. He notices inconsistencies. He remembers small details. He listens to what people say, but more importantly, he notices what they don't say. And because he listens carefully, he often understands more than people realize. This is an underrated source of respect. When you genuinely listen to people, you become more socially intelligent. You learn what they care about, what makes them uncomfortable, what they fear, what they want. And once you understand people, you don't need to dominate every conversation. You can influence a conversation simply by asking the right question.
Lalo does this constantly. He doesn't always tell people what to think. He gets them to reveal what they think. A person who talks constantly gives away information. A person who listens collects it. And that is why silence can sometimes be more powerful than speech. Lalo is extremely comfortable with silence. He doesn't rush to fill every empty second. He doesn't explain every thought. He doesn't constantly justify himself. And this creates something people can feel immediately: presence. Presence is often misunderstood. People think presence means being loud. It doesn't. Some of the most charismatic people in the world aren't the loudest people in the room. They are simply comfortable being there. They don't desperately seek attention. Attention finds them. Lalo's presence comes from certainty. He behaves like someone who knows exactly where he stands. And this leads to another important lesson. Stop negotiating your self-worth with other people. If someone doesn't like you, that doesn't automatically mean you have to change. If someone doesn't approve of you, that doesn't mean you have to convince them. If someone misunderstands you, you don't always need to correct them. Not everyone has to like you. Not everyone has to understand you. Not everyone has to approve of your choices. The moment you become dependent on universal approval, you become extremely easy to control. Think about how much power you give another person when their opinion determines how you feel about yourself. If they compliment you, you feel valuable. If they ignore you, you feel worthless. If they criticize you, you become defensive. If they leave, you panic. Now they don't even need to control you directly. Your need for approval controls you for them. Lalo doesn't operate like this, and although his character takes this idea to an extreme, the underlying principle is useful. You cannot build genuine confidence while constantly asking other people to confirm your worth. You need an internal foundation. That doesn't mean becoming arrogant, it means becoming secure enough to hear criticism without immediately collapsing. It means being able to admit when you're wrong without feeling humiliated. It means being able to walk away from people who consistently disrespect you. And it means understanding that rejection isn't always a verdict on your value. Sometimes it is simply rejection. Another reason Lalo commands attention is his adaptability. He can walk into different environments and adjust himself without losing his identity. He can be charming, friendly, funny, casual, then suddenly serious. He understands that strength doesn't always look the same. Sometimes strength is aggression, but sometimes strength is knowing how to make someone comfortable. Sometimes strength is knowing how to make people laugh. Sometimes strength is knowing when to disappear into the background. People who constantly try to appear dominant often become predictable. They have one mode. They're always serious, always aggressive, always trying to look intimidating. Eventually, everyone sees through it. Real confidence is flexible. You don't have to prove that you're the strongest person in every interaction. You can be relaxed without being weak. You can be kind without being submissive. You can be quiet without being insecure. And you can smile without giving away your power. That balance is important because respect is not the same thing as fear. Fear can force someone to obey you temporarily. Respect makes people take you seriously even when they don't have to. And the second is much more valuable. This is why boundaries matter. If someone repeatedly crosses a boundary and you keep allowing it because you're afraid of losing them, you are teaching them that your boundaries don't mean anything. You don't need to become aggressive. You don't need to threaten anyone. Sometimes the strongest response is simply changing your behavior. Less access, less attention, less explanation. A calm distance can communicate more than an emotional argument ever could.